We often imagine the pioneer woman as someone who crossed the plains once, built a permanent home, and stayed there. The reality of the frontier was a cycle of relocation. Survival required constant physical movement and a heavy burden of domestic duty that rarely allowed for a fixed residence. Cynthia Selena McClellan Brown lived this reality from the day she was born. In 1850, her family was fleeing religious persecution in a covered wagon train. Cynthia was born on the plains of Wyoming while the wheels were still turning. She would only live to be 33 years old. 3 decades defined by 6 children, repeated migrations across the West, and continuous manual labor. Examining Cynthia's life provides a look at the physical mechanics of survival. Her story highlights how women maintained the frontier through labor that is often left out of the romanticized history of the West. Cynthia's childhood was shaped by the immediate needs of her community. Her family was assigned to Payson, Utah, specifically because the settlement required her father's skills as a blacksmith. On the frontier, children were quickly integrated into the workforce. When Cynthia's mother died, 12-year-old Cynthia was immediately tasked with the full-time responsibilities of an adult woman. This environment demanded a fierce pragmatism. One afternoon, her adopted sister Esther climbed a tree to avoid the family washing. To Cynthia, this wasn't a childhood game. It was a refusal to perform grueling manual work that the family relied on to function. Cynthia picked up an axe and threatened to chop the tree down if Esther didn't help. When Esther stayed put, Cynthia followed through and cut the tree down. This incident shows how the frontier eliminated the space for a passive adolescence. Every member of the household had to contribute to the collective survival, often requiring an uncompromising approach to domestic labor. Even after Cynthia married and established her own farm in Idaho, her location remained subject to the needs of her extended family. When David's sister was abandoned by her husband in Utah, she could no longer care for their ailing father. The responsibility for his medical care fell to David and Cynthia. To meet this obligation, they gave up the stability they had built. They traded their farm for the teams and wagons necessary to move the family back to Utah. For women on the frontier, personal goals and economic accumulation were secondary to the requirements of family duty and elder care. Their next move took them to a log cabin at Box Creek in Grass Valley, Utah. It was an isolated, demanding environment where the children were put to work herding horses as soon as they could ride. Cynthia worked to maintain her intellectual life within this setting. While she spent hours hand-knitting the socks and stockings her family required, she propped up books and papers on the table so she could read while her hands stayed busy. She was known for her high standards of cleanliness. Her relatives described her as an immaculate housekeeper, noting that the family's clothes were scrubbed clean even before they were placed in the boil tub. This standard of living required a physical output that Cynthia struggled to sustain. When her son Sammy ruined a set of clean clothes, she broke down, asking him if he wanted to bring his mother to her grave. Maintaining order and intellect on the frontier was more than a chore. It was a physical struggle against the environment that wore down a woman's health over time. The conditions of the 19th century frontier eventually took a visible toll on Cynthia's physical well-being. After giving birth to her 6th child, Hugh Monroe, her health failed completely. She died 5 weeks later at the age of 33. Her infant son passed away only 4 months after her. Cynthia's impact on history isn't recorded in political milestones or the accumulation of wealth. The American West was built on the labor of ordinary women whose lives were often short and difficult. Their legacy survives through the meticulous family records and stories passed down to their descendants.